Matt Orozco with Macabre Daily, and I'm joined today by Mercedes Bryce Morgan, director of Bone Lake. So thank you so much for spending some time with me today, Mercedes.
Yes, no, I'm so excited to talk to you about this. Hi, Matt.
Oh, I'm excited to hear about it. I have a confession. I was at Fantastic Fest last year, and I
Yes.
did not get a chance to see Bone Lake, but my colleague did, and they were raving about it. And now I've finally gotten a chance to see it, and chef's kiss.
Thank
Fantastic
you.
job.
No, it just makes me so happy that it could follow us from Fantastic Fest to here because for me, that's the ultimate test because the people who go to Fantastic Fest are the type of people who would like our movie. And so I told myself, I'm like, if we fail here, what are we doing? But we had our people spread the word. And so it's been so cool to see it opening up in theaters now.
Yeah, I know. It's wild. My colleague texted me like 2 months ago. He's like, I just saw a trailer for Bone Lake, which I reviewed last year at Fantastic Fest. He's like, this is it. This is great. And I'm like, yes, it is. And, Mercedes, I know you've spent a lot of your time in both the directing, the producing, and the writing side of the house, doing some work in music videos and then television and film. But when you think about kind of this journey you've been on, especially from your debut at TIFF all the way to Fantastic Fest and now a theatrical kind of nationwide debut, what are some of the things you feel like you've picked up and learned as a filmmaker over the years that have contributed to kind of your continued success?
Yeah, I think quite a few things. I think that as I go, I just continue to learn story more and more. And something I've picked up along the way is I love doing test screenings because I like to make movies for people. I want our audience to enjoy it as they're watching it. And so just kind of seeing what they respond to on every project has been so fulfilling. But I think also as a director, I've learned what's really important to people and to spend time into versus not. And I'm a big believer that when the moment's serious, like leave the camera be, let the actors do their job. That's what they're there for. But when we're gonna have fun, like let's fucking go for it. Let's twirl the camera. Let's come down around them. Let's pretend like with a POV of a lock. And I just think it adds another level to things.
I mean, you're right. Your instincts are completely spot on. And I'll admit, I watched this with my wife because I usually have to kind of convince her to watch some of the screeners I get. She's not a horror fan, but she was
Yeah.
like, "Okay, this looks okay." And she was just as delighted as I was. We were both just kind of like grabbing each other a little bit. So, well, like again, mission accomplished because you've got a non-horror fan to truly enjoy the heck out of this.
Thank you. That has
Um,
been one of the best compliments. I actually got that from a couple people who are like, this person doesn't even like horror and they loved it. And especially the fact that you guys watched it as a couple, just as extra cool for me because I've had different couples come up and talk to me. They're like, yeah, we had this conversation afterwards. And that was so fun to talk about. What would we do in this situation?
we did the same hypotheticals, like what
Yes.
would we do? And I think what we came away with was that we both would, my wife was like immediately not stay. I was like, well, let's feel it out. And then I think by the end of the movie, we're both like, yeah, we're getting the fuck out of there. Like, there's no way we're,
But what if your wife had everything that she's been working for over the last 10 years promised to her if she were to stay?
I
That's
know.
the
And,
question.
she's in residency right now to become a surgeon. So like, I feel like she's already had so much of that taken from her. So like, if she had the chance, you could just go right to being a surgeon right away. She might
That
take it.
checks.
So
Yeah. So maybe someone in the creative field has more of a high stake of, oh my God,
yes,
look at what they're
yes.
offering me. Yes. She's like, I'm saving
But
people's lives. I'm fine.
yeah, exactly. But at the same time, it's such like a trade-off, and I think what you do so well in this is that you allow, like, you expose so much vulnerability of how relationships really are without kind of shying away from some of the more difficult parts. And I know that, you're working from a script with Joshua Friedlander. How did the collaboration come about between him? Did you find the script first? Did you, just curious to how that all came about?
Yeah, so the script was sent to my agents and I read it and I instantly loved it. I could tell them like, oh, this is a fast read. Like I want to know what's happening and I'm giggling the entire time I'm reading it. And then from that, it just also kind of became a creative collaboration where I kind of wanted to bring more to the female characters. And so he was very open and welcoming of that. And so it's something we developed together. And then when it came to shooting, I just kind of even took it farther from there, where I'm like, okay, we need to understand what they're going through and just adding another level of dimension there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really is like as far as gender equality goes, no one has a leg up in this situation at all. And I think
Yes.
that makes for far better and more entertaining filmmaking. And when you think about the process you're going through, could you describe a little about like the shoot and the production schedule? Was this a relatively tight shoot you're working under, or did you have a little bit more freedom and flexibility?
this is a wildly tight shoot. We had 18 days originally to shoot it, and we got a couple more because there was a storm the last day, and so we had to
Oof.
shoot the ending on a soundstage. But because of that, I felt like I just kind of turned everything I've learned over the last couple of years of this is how you make a day and still get crazy cool creative shots, and it just took so much planning to be able to do that, and just an entire team that was like, go, and I would go, okay, great, acts in this body part. All right, cut. Okay, dramatic, intense, emotional plot twist scene. Cut. Let's keep going. And it takes actors who are good on every take, so that way we have time to play around with things instead of trying to get it to a place where it's good. We're just having fun still while we're doing it.
I think that's so much more infectious than trying to get it right. Is that are
Yeah.
people acting natural and are they kind of leaning into the roles and really kind of lending themselves to what the situation is? And on that point, there's a lot of really kind of um, sensual things that are happening here. And I'm curious, kind of with your actors, how did you work with them to get them to feel comfortable around each other, especially some really vulnerable moments?
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, it's just a lot of these actors are people that myself or the producers have worked with before, and so I think it's having that level of trust with that
Mm.
together, and then knowing that they are being paired up with other people. But I think also just especially on this, all the actors just looked out for each other, because I think that we're in a day and time where everyone needs to look out for each other, because it's
Yeah.
hard to be the person to raise your hand on set and be like, I don't feel comfortable with this. But if you have someone backing you up, or you go, they say they don't feel comfortable with this, or go help them. I think it just lets them know, okay, we're in a place and we're all humans and we're being vulnerable, and that's okay. But also, we're sending it, and the people who signed up for this are down.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's so important. I mean, there's something to be taken from that. I think when you think about the macro environment we're in, is that the more we can do to create spaces where people can, have each other's backs and saying, hey, this isn't right, or hey, I don't feel okay, it allows us to go even deeper into the stuff that's a little bit wilder and weirder,
Yeah.
as we kind of see here.
Yeah, exactly. Because you know what you're signing up for too, and so especially Andrea Nachita, who plays Sin, like she's a newer face and a fresher face, because I just wanted to find someone who felt comfortable with what they were doing and is just so down. And it's funny because she kind of plays this mean girl manipulative character, but in real life she's the sweetest person that you've ever met in your life. And so I think it's also just because the fact that these characters are putting on an act, but they're also very sweet people, just helps a lot.
Oh, totally. And I think that's kind of the weird irony of it all is that so many, genre fans in particular, like we like some of the most transgressive and strange and weird movies, but we're also oftentimes some of the nicest and most kind of loving people.
Oh,
It's just the
exactly. Yeah.
dichotomy,
I mean, when I was growing up, like Hot Topic was one of my main haunts, and
of
usually the
course.
person you see with the most piercings and tattoos is like the sweetest person in the world. And I think people who just don't know people like that assume otherwise, but that's very much so not true.
Yeah, and I think as a society, we're advancing to a place where like we're looking at people who have like piercings, tattoos, who are
Yeah.
like, what would have been considered before like alternative, it's like it's now just like you are just who you are,
Yeah, exactly.
and you show up that way. And
Yeah.
one of the most, almost a character of itself is the location that you shot at. Can you talk a little bit more about that house? Because holy crap, like I don't care how many bodies are buried in that lake, like I kind of still want to stay there.
Yeah, totally. I wanted a house that felt very quote unquote aspirational, and just here's this almost European type vacation home where you're going to and
Yes.
go, what is this big ass giant place that we get to stay at? But then there's all of these hidden rooms and parts you get to go to. And even part of it was built as a set, the three doors that doesn't
Mm.
exist actually in a house. And so it was us finding something that worked for that, but then could go farther and be explored.
And did you all stay at the house while you were shooting, or did you
We
have a
didn't.
separate place? Okay.
The like extreme hardcore filmmaker in me would love to just fall asleep and wake up and be like, we got it. But that was not this house. We had only just enough rooms to shoot in, and beyond that, no, because we used every inch of that house.
Oh, and that's funny because I just watching like the innkeepers and Ty West talked about, oh, we all stayed in this hotel, we shot it. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, that sounds really like good from an efficiency standpoint, but also like not being able to separate work from your personal in that way, like it might blur the lines too much, but what do I
Totally.
know?
I
I'm
mean,
not a
the
filmmaker.
first movie I did, it was during COVID, but pre-vaccine, and so we bubbled 90 people in a hotel room, and so no one was allowed to leave, and that was an even much more wild set experience of these are your people that you live, eat, sleep, and everything is around here. So this film was not that experience, but I like the hardcoreness of it.
Yeah, I know. And it's almost like you're running your own social experiment at that point. It's like, how long can we keep all these people together and see what happens?
Yes.
And Um, when you think about kind of your personal connection to horror, what are some of the things that scare you today? Beyond just kind of the current state of the world, but what are some other things
Yeah,
that kind of really terrify you?
everything, every single day. But no, I mean, I'm someone who has never really been scared of, like exorcism type movies or like I love supernatural stuff, but more so in a sense of I think it's so wild and fun. But what really scares me is just people being evil and unethical and using other people. And I think it's because I look around and see that around me on a daily basis, as I think everyone does. And so
Yeah.
that's what's terrifying to me is people.
Yeah, it's almost horror has become even more of an escape in our current times because it allows us to disconnect from the reality of like the horrors of reality instead of
Yes.
kind of assume the horrors of an imagined world. And I had so many ideas thinking, one of the things I love to think about is like when I watch a film, and especially when I joy, is what would go great with this? Like if I was planning up a double feature, what's a movie that would go so well with this? So if you were asked to program a double feature with Bone Lake, what do you think would make a really fun companion with it?
Ooh, I think either Ready or Not, just because it's in the same tone of a campy, fun but grounded character, or I would say maybe something like Wild Things, that's like a very fun 90s silly movie, but the fact that you could compare how we treat our female characters versus that, I think would be a very interesting examination.
Yeah, I think this fits perfectly in the canon of like 90s erotic thrillers that are kind of
Yeah.
like really sexy, but you've also added up a level where you kind of bring in the horror gore elements, which again, folks, the third act of this film goes so hard. And I feel like everyone I'm going to try and see it in theater this weekend because I want to see how people react to that kind of thing.
Yes.
Um, but Mercedes, I just wanted to say thank you so much for the time today.
Yeah.
Congratulations on the film. I cannot wait to see what you're doing next. You've got a lot of great hits behind you with Spoonful of Sugar, and drawing a blank on the name of your film from TIFF,
Fixation. Yes.
Fixation. So
Yes.
whatever you're doing next, sign me up. And again, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you so much. Thanks. Lovely talking to you.
Yeah, same here, Mercedes.
Bye.